Hello and welcome. My name's Hannah from Tula Being Mindful Movement. Thanks for joining today's practice. So you don't need to change your outfit in any way. You just need to grab yourself a chair. Today's practice is going to be releasing a little through our ankles, through the hips and the lower back. So for any of you who do sit quite a bit of your day, this is a great one to do, just sat at your desk even. Let's go ahead and start by just shuffling ourselves into a nice upright, supported posture. I've shuffled a little bit forward so that I'm not leaning into the back of my chair. Don't worry if you are on a desk chair and it's wheeling around a little bit. Just see if we can now bring it to a sense of stillness. So bringing connection of sit bones as evenly as you can, maybe a little bit of the weight of the thighs into the back of the chair or the base of the chair, and also plant the feet maybe a good hip width apart. And even if you've got shoes on, think about spreading the toes out, and then if you can, gently bringing one toe at a time, maybe starting from the little toe downwards to the big toe, back into connection with the earth. And then you choose how you might like to start with the palms. We're going to take a moment just to ground and to be with this moment. Sometimes I find that the palms facing down can have this wonderful connection of earthing and grounding. And if we feel perhaps actually we need a little more energy, maybe you'd like to flip the palms and have them turned upwards so that you can feel the air on the top of the palms. You do not have to close your eyes in this moment, but you might like to gently lower the gaze. And just allow the next exhale to release out through your mouth. Might create a little sighing sound, and then invite an inhale through the nose. If that sigh felt good, go ahead and do so again. Doesn't have to be a really vigorous breath, but could your exhale be just a little bit longer than your inhale here? If you want to continue to breathe like this with the mouth closed, go ahead and do so. And just for the next couple of rounds, could you visualize your thighs and sit bones grounding down into your seat as you exhale? And as you inhale, can you imagine the crown of your head just lifting a little bit higher upwards to the ceiling and beyond? And it isn't that you're lifting up and down through your weight, but we're gradually increasing the length of our spine here with each round of inhale and exhale. Come back to seeing if the exhale can be just a little bit longer than your inhale for 2 more rounds. Staying tall and long through the spine. And then when you're ready, transitioning the gaze to level, or if you're watching me on a screen, bringing your eyes focused to the screen one more time. And now whatever you want to do with your hands here, we're going to start by lifting the heels of our feet and lift as high as you can. If you've got shoes on, that's okay. You're just going where you can. And then we'll lower the heels and start to lift the balls of the feet and the toes. So we're lifting and lowering. I used to do ballet as a child, and we used to call these good toes and naughty toes. So we're lifting on our good toes apparently. And then we're lowering and we're bringing those feet into flexion, apparently naughty toes. When it comes to ballerinas, no flexing of feet. But when it comes to yoga and a beautiful stretch of the shins and the calves, then they're certainly not naughty feet. You might notice one way feels a little more obtainable, especially if you do have shoes on. You might have already decided, I'm taking those shoes off. If that's possible for you to do in this moment, then feel free to do that. And you might notice that you get a little bit more range of movement. We'll go for just a couple more lifts and lowers. And then on the last one, we'll go ahead and actually pause and hold that. So I've noticed that my feet are starting to walk a little bit further forwards. I'm going to bring them back a little bit. It feels more stable for me. Okay, so the next time we go ahead and raise the heels, let's pause there and spread the toes out again. Even if you've got your shoes still on, see if you can lightly grip quite evenly through your toes. So see if you can start by gripping in with a little toe and just having a little bit of pressure pressing down there. And just noticing what might be coming up in terms of sensation through the lower leg. Maybe it's all concentrated into the toes. Maybe it's all concentrated into the shins or the calves. Maybe you're feeling it in the upper thighs. And then let's go ahead and lower, and we'll do the opposite into flexion. And you might do what I'm doing, bringing the feet where you need them to be so that you feel stable in your posture. And just seeing what's available in terms of range, sensation here. Could those toes peel any further back in towards the knees? And then go ahead and lower. If you need a little wiggle out, go ahead and do that. We're going to stay quite far forwards on our chair. You don't have to be teetering on the edge, but try not to be super far back. Now, if you do have armrests, I was about to say handles, armrests on the side of your chair, then it might be that being further forwards is going to give you a bit more space, but also don't worry about having a really huge range here in terms of opening and closing where we're going here. So little movements are still going to be using all the right muscles. So don't worry about having to be really wide with the legs. I've shuffled a little further forwards. So I like to keep my palms on the legs. I'm going to start by lifting the left leg. So as I do that, I notice I'm having to stabilize my whole weight here, crown of head lifting. I'm also trying to press down through that other foot on the floor, that's your right foot, and then go ahead and lower. So it's like we're going to march here very, very slowly, and then swap it over and just see how that feels. Press down through the foot that's on the earth to help lift through the other leg. Notice whether you're kind of a bit wonky. Maybe you just need to back off a little bit so that you stabilize the weight into the seat. Let's do that with rhythm of breath here. So we are now marching a little bit more rhythmically, lifting and lowering. And as you do that, notice how you have to engage different groups of muscles to be able to keep that action really nice and smooth. What muscle groups can you notice working here? We might notice through the glutes, maybe we're noticing that our core has to be actually somewhat engaged. Maybe leg muscles, quads, hamstrings. And then go ahead and lower your right leg, and we'll once again start lifting through that left leg. This time we're going to take the leg out to the side. So I'm going to march it out to the side and then bring it back in, and we'll swap it over again. So again, like I said before, don't worry about how wide that leg can go. You might play around with that if you do have some space. You might be restricted by that chair. You might be restricted by the clothes that you're wearing. I specifically just put on a pair of jeans today so that it's not all about range or deepest range here. We're just moving our body mindfully, creating space. Okay, next time that left leg goes out to the side, come and pause, meet me there. We're going to take a little side stretch, working into the lower side body and into the back. Plant your left elbow onto that left knee or thigh, and just start by pressing down through that right hand onto the right thigh. And I'm opening up through the right shoulder. If it feels comfortable, you'll turn the gaze out as well. Maybe you're looking up if that feels okay. If not, don't worry, you can just turn the gaze back down again. Or perhaps you're even just playing a little bit with the range of motion through the neck. to a place that feels easy or easeful. I'm trying to avoid dropping the head at this moment. And then we can invite a different position of that right arm. So you might start by turning the palm away and placing the back of the hand to the lower back, and then pressing lightly into the back of the hand as you peel that left shoulder back. I apologize, it's your right shoulder. And then if you feel like you want to add in a bit more of a side stretch, releasing a little bit more through psoas and the hip flexors into the lower back. Perhaps you're exploring reaching that right arm overhead. Sometimes I like to take hold of the back of the head and lightly press head and hand together and play with that opening as well. Feeling into the upper back as well with this nice deep stretch. And then slowly lifting our way back up and just coming back through to center. So just take a moment, if you want, in a gentle rolling of the pelvis. So it's a bit of a cat-cow. I'm thinking about tipping my weight forwards through the hip bones, sit bones back, and then tipping the weight so that the sit bones curl under. So I'll just turn to the side. Maybe you can see a little bit more through the pelvis what I'm doing, feet kind of at hip width, and I'm just taking a little gentle sway through the lower back here. We might refer to this as a seated variation of a cat-cow. I'm not being fully articulate through the spine, and I'm trying to really concentrate onto the lower portion through the lumbar area. We put a lot of weight onto our hips with the weight of our head and our shoulders. So throughout the length of the day, all of gravity is just gently pushing downwards into the pelvis there. And we have these lovely natural curves of the spine, which are there in place to help support and be like a suspension to help support the weight of the head. So we're just seeing if we can get a little bit of fluidity happening there in the lower back. And then slowly come through to stillness. So we'll swap it over to the other side. Start again in neutral, feet roughly at hip width, sit tall. And then this time you're lifting the right leg up and out and you're planting it and pausing this time. So we're gonna lean it out, plant that right elbow onto your right thigh. I turn the palm up, you can do what you want to there, just do what's comfortable through the arm. And then I'm lightly pressing into the left hand to peel the left shoulder back. Maybe you're already starting to feel something in the sort of waist area, lower back. And then we could explore with left arm. Perhaps you're nestling the hand into the lower back and a light press there as you attempt to peel left shoulder even further back. Perhaps you're exploring with turning the head a little bit. And then if it's comfortable for the shoulder, we raise the arm up and over, big diagonal swoop. Go to an extension that feels right. And I didn't mention this on the other side. Sometimes too much information is an overload. But could we see if we could find a lift of the rib cage upwards as we reach the arm up and overhead to the side? So I'm thinking the top side of the ribs is taking a little gentle arc. The underside of the ribs is doing a little scoop up. And maybe we'll just get a little bit more extension through the waist and extending into the lower back. Maybe you're bending through the top arm, little gentle press, head into hand, hand into head. And then gently we gaze down and we'll sweep our way back up and come back to neutral. So again, little pelvic rocks, back and forth. The last thing that we are going to do here is a gentle dangle or forward fold, just seated. And you'll choose at what depth feels right for you. You don't have to be really far forwards, but I quite like coming quite far forwards. It'll depend a bit on the sturdiness of your chair as well. I'm also going to bring the feet wider than chair, wider than hips, slightly turn the toes out. So the first option is going to be trying to lean forwards and rest your forearms and your elbows onto the knees or the thighs. And then encourage a bit of a rounding. So we're going to do a sort of letting go sensation. I'm creating more of a C shape through the back body and the spine, letting the head be heavy. And then again, you might explore a bit of a slower, more in-tuned cat-cow. So I've tried to extend now. I'm not really working with breath. I'm just exploring what it feels like to lengthen crown of head much further forwards. I'm creating a neutral spine here. So again, I'll just swap around to the side and see if I can show you a little bit what I'm doing. I'm exploring a deeper rounding, creating the letter C shape. Pubic bone towards navel, head is heavy. And then a lengthening. So it's like I'm trying to bring heart space forwards. I'm not trying to exaggerate the tilt of the pelvis and stick the bum out quite, but I'm thinking long line through the spine, crown of head, edging out and away from the pelvis. So maybe you're taking one more round. And then finally, we're just going to pause where it feels good. So if you feel like you could go a bit further, maybe you start by holding onto the shins and seeing if you can grab towards your ankles. Now, it might be that you bring your feet further forwards just to really stabilize yourself. And if you feel like you can go there, maybe you're holding onto the feet. Don't worry if you're not here. Perhaps it's possible to bring hands to the floor. Don't forget, I'm a yoga teacher, so I definitely got some range going on here. Do not feel that you have to match everything that you see in front of you. And perhaps for some of us, we even completely let go and take hold of the inside of the elbows. Finally, hairs are flopping. We want to take hold of the inside of the elbows if you're feeling stable. Now, if you're on a wheelie chair, this is going to be a little bit more tricky probably. You might be pushing too much weight into the seat of the chair, so you might be pausing a little bit higher up, and that's okay. Alternatively, you can also stand up from your chair and do this in a forward fold. If you are standing, generously bend your knees. Do not feel that you have to straighten them. In fact, I really invite you to avoid straightening legs. Please note that if you're feeling a little lightheaded, it's probably best to be a bit higher through the head the same height as heart or higher. And we're going to slowly lift up. If you have gone lower than your heart with head, come to a pause, elbows on the thighs again. And then ever so slowly, we'll roll our way up. Shuffle your way back into your seat. We come to pause. If you'd like to finish in the way that we started, a couple of breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Thank you so much for joining today's seated practice, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like it below, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon. Not only will this keep you up to date with my offerings, but will keep content like To The Being free and accessible to all.